Pipe Network presents.
I'm finishing now my film degree specializing in animation, and I'm also working in animation. One thing that clicked to me was just I didn't answer. Like when you're like trying to figure yourself out, you're always like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? It's just like more of like I didn't care to answer. Like more of like I don't know, but I'm just gonna start it out.
What's the scariest story you
Is it
know?
from a book, a movie, a TV
Or
show?
is it something that happened in real life? My name is Andrew.
And I'm Nina. Come join us as we talk all things horror.
The frightening, alarming, real-life tales show.
Out wherever you're listening to right now.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode, and I have an super interesting guest, and this is gonna be fun. As always, all my episodes are fun. Uh, we met over on one of the Facebook groups, and we just hit it off. Ladies and gentlemen, Scods from the
Hey
Philippines.
guys. Hello everyone. So it's nice to be here, Rajiv.
Awesome, awesome. We got a lot of interesting things to talk about here in this conversation. It's just gonna be simple. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about life and whatever life has to offer. This is gonna be interesting. So before we unbox all the things that I've mentioned, let's take a time travel back into the past. If you and I were classmates in high school, who were you in high school?
Okay, so if Rajiv and I were classmates, well, I came from an all-girls school, so I don't think that would be possible. But if it was possible, I think we help each other in our homeworks and be like, "Hey, what's up with your class?" Because I was in high school, I was just like, I would go home, go to school, read some books, have a good company with my friends, and be like, that's just it. I think I was more introverted back then than now. So, yeah, I would totally help you in your assignments because, like, Reggie, if you're in the library, I'm like, yeah, you can definitely meet Scuds there.
Interesting, interesting. Scuds in the library. That sounds like a
Yeah.
interesting podcast name.
Yeah, yeah, that could be great. If the library had tea, I'd be definitely in the tea section.
Really, really, you're not a coffee person.
I know, like the thing with coffee is like I know it's comedic for some because it's like that's what they want to
Yeah,
feel kind of like the jitter.
yeah,
I don't. I mean, when I was in college, like when I started out nursing before, because I was in nursing in college,
yeah,
and they always say like you're gonna gain weight because of the stress. And I gained more weight back then. I was obese before
yeah.
because I was so stressed all the time. I would be thinking of my assignments and like, oh my gosh, if I'm gonna fail, oh no, and then I'd sleep less because I would be studying. And that's kind of like a normal life you have when you're in nursing or like going to doctory. You're
Yeah,
usually always thinking of like your grades more.
yeah.
And if you had time, you'd use it to sleep. So I like now getting tea than being all jitterish all the time.
It's interesting you mentioned nursing. What made you decide
Yeah.
nursing? I gotta follow up on that.
Well, that's a good point. When I was before, like when I was 16 to 20, I actually quit nursing school. I was third year to fourth year, and I know people be like, "Didn't you think you wasted your time?" I'm like, "Yes and no. I think I wasted more for me because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that nursing was the thing. My sister's now a nurse in London. And if I just finish my school, oh, I'll right away get a job if I wanted to.
Yeah.
The thing though is like I just didn't think that mattered a lot. Like like I would be sleepless. I think of my grades, how to impress my family and like friends, but I realized I couldn't get that because I wasn't really taking care of myself. So I think it was more of like I had regrets, but would I look back on it like I wouldn't do it ever again. So I think it was a lesson learned.
Interesting. That's an interesting take. That's a very, very fascinating
Mhm.
take. There's a lot to unbox there. It's very powerful that you sought out to choose a different path than others. That's really interesting. And usually
Yeah.
people don't, in India, the saying that you either when you're born in India, you're either a doctor or a engineer. That's the common trend there.
Mm.
And it's interesting that you
Mm.
took yourself away from that equation and now you're following your
Yeah.
passion. That's very powerful. So aside from nursing, what made you decide to go to animation? You mentioned animation earlier.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
made
I'm
you?
taking now. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay. What made me go into animation and stuff?
yeah,
Well, back then I was really in a rut. I was really depressive, and I wouldn't say depressive in a mental condition, more of a depressive wherein I was feeling like I was taking my soul away from me, from not being me. I was doing it for other people. And
yeah,
I wouldn't say it wasn't because I wasn't happy. It was because every single day I would pass the time. And when I'm finishing now my film degree specializing in animation, and I'm also working in animation, one thing that clicked to me was just I didn't answer. Like like when you're like trying to figure yourself out, you're always like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? It's just like more of like I didn't care to answer. Like more of like I don't know, but I'm just gonna start it out. I'm just gonna start going to like because I when I was in my childhood, I started really liking like 101 Dalmatian, Lilo and Stitch, and I started to realize when I started really taking film that I really like the storyboarding process. I like the scripts. I like when they talk about your own stories in your life, and then you make it into like seaweed grasshoppers. Like you'd be talking, like I know a lot of animators, they will be talking about seaweed grasshoppers for 3 months. I'm like, I thought we were over this. I'm like, I'm gonna let you see what seaweed grasshopper looks like in 3D. I'm like, this is it's creative. And then I thought like, when you're usually stressed, like get over it. But more of like I started to not complain. I just like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna wing it out. And I really started to really enjoy my life and be like, rather than letting to please other people, I realized, oh, I'm part of this now. Like that's what thing I really like. I'm part of it, and I like that I'm also like I get to see my name. I get to work with an amazing director and producers and be like, yeah, this is nice.
that's powerful. I love how you make stories out of seaweed. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Even for me, I mean, I'm still experimenting with abstract animation. Hopefully I can beat you
Mm-hmm.
to it. But yeah, it's not a competition anyway. It's just
No, yeah.
it's
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know like a lot of Indians are also very good in animation.
yeah,
And like I remember White Tiger, wherein there's like kind of like you're pressured to do well in life, to be like, I wouldn't say be good than everybody else, but you're like you have to be practical to make a living. So
yeah,
that's kind of like in animation, yeah, you can make a living, but it's more of like I know one thing that I would say is also by luck, is
Yeah.
that a lot of people are not supported by the family. Like
Yeah.
I've been talking to also another friend. It's like he can't do arts because his parents would be like, that's for kids. And the thing though is like, it's also by luck that you can get supported by your friends and family. Like you need that, especially when once you start working. But
Yeah.
you also need to be vocal in your delivery, because it's nice to have friends and family. You need that, but it's also nice to communicate also with the producers, or you get to meet talent scouts, you get to meet recruiters and other animators, artists, wherein it doesn't feel like you're pressured. Like once you call them up, like, do you need another person to work with you? I'm like, yeah, we could. And then it's like, it's just, it helps you get better because you vibe with a good community. So I would say, yeah, it's not about competition. It's more of like, can you be good to work with other people, or are you better off working on your own?
Yeah. That's quite powerful because the dynamic, the change in dynamic now in the atmosphere of Indians is now that they're leaning towards
Mm,
passion project. Ever since the pandemic hit, I think
mm,
there was a rude awakening for Indians. So now it became you chase
mm-hmm,
your passion and whatever comes
mm-hmm.
your way, that's your thing. And yeah, that's
But
what we
I,
where we are
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would disagree. Just go for your passion. Like when I mention like vocal delivery though, is like not just you loving your passion, but other people getting to see it and even support it. Like they're the ones who ask for you to work with you or to give you money and stuff, because that's the, I guess I wouldn't say realistic side of things. Like before you become actual, like I have a lot of people like they want to go in animation, but I'm like, when if you're talking about full-time animation, are you making 5 outputs per week? At least five, because I know animators, they can make 8 to 30 outputs. Like they can make characters, 30 of them in 1 week,
Yeah.
and be like, damn. Because if you can just say this is passion, you can start this out as a passion and be like it's a side hustle. But when you're saying full time, you're you're giving more than just like your creative work. Like, oh, I just hope people will notice me. But like you can deliver like a lot of homeworks and stuff. And that's what people like get stressed about, because every week you have new deliverables.
Wow. That's powerful. You are a powerful lady, and I love how we're talking about art and discipline and
Mm-hmm.
thing direction. That is one thing that the world
Yeah.
needs right now, especially artists. They need the simple direction. For me, I
Yeah.
ventured out into abstract. I did try creating
Mm-hmm.
characters on my own, trying to fit into the social bubble of arts, and sadly, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
make it. I can't make it anymore. So what I've decided to do is to abstract my thoughts and create composition from the abstract vision that I've seen. That's how I see, and that's how I feel about my art, is that I put it in this abstract microscope, and then from there I just take it all. I just
Mm-hmm.
unleash my creativity, and yeah, that's my storytelling. It's just a composition of things that are abstract that would usually be done and be misunderstood. That's one thing that I noticed that is gonna happen, and that's one thing
Mm-hmm.
that creatives, especially abstract artists, are, that they will always be not noticed for the things that they create, but somehow be influenced by the creative process, by being inspired. So yeah.
Okay, I like when you said like sometimes you get misunderstood, because in my podcast, or sometimes when you're trying to be, I remember even, yeah, I made this interview up, and I also talked about it, that even if you're weird, it's a job. Like even if you're an artist and you sometimes feel like you're going to be misunderstood or people will misinterpret it. I think rather than taking it as a bad sign, it's a good sign because you start to get more clear sooner or later with your vision, but not just your vision or storytelling, but what you'd want other people to get involved in. So for them, it would be weird, but it's kind of weird in a curious sense. Like once you start to compile more of your work, they start to see, okay, so this is what Rajiv artist style is. They start to
Yeah.
see a pattern, and then that gets better over time. So whenever you feel like you're misunderstood or other people would misunderstand you, it's just like it's a good sign. It's
Yeah.
actually a good result because like it just means to say you're not stuck. You're in the level of getting to know yourself even more as an artist. Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite interesting. One thing that caught my ear, even if you're weird, it's a job. That's
Yeah.
really
It's a job. It's a job. Like what was this, Dali, Salvador Dali,
yeah.
or Marilyn Monroe, or who's that, Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
I remember most of them, they're kind of in the scene, but at the same time when people get to know their, what do you call that, artistic life, it's very different from their uh
Normal.
what do you call that, private life. It's very different because in private, in like me as Scods, I'm I'm very vocal, I'm articulate, but I'm very like, I need to be chill because like at the same time I'm like, at first when I'm doing art and it's a blank canvas, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. But once I start to go to be like my personal life, I'm very chill and very different. So that's where a lot of people start to see like, oh, she's different in her personal life. I want to lie down in bed. I just want to, if I could, have more time to sleep and just relax with friends. But when you're an artist, you're kind of like a different person in other
Yeah.
people's eyes. So I'm just like, yeah, if they're gonna misunderstand and that's how they see me, I'm like, okay, but I'm different in real life. So it's kind of like I realize, yeah, it's still a job. If people see me that way and that's what they expect from me when I present, like I have to be best at it then. I can't like let people see how relaxed or how stressed I am really behind the scenes.
Yeah. But the quote that is stuck in my head is this: what you just said is that even if you're weird, it's a job. I want to put it on a
Yes.
t-shirt, to be honestly. I want to put it on a
Even
t-shirt.
if you're weird, decision. Yeah, I mean, I have an episode about it. So, but I mean, the thing though is like, yeah, even if you're odd, you're just trying to be your real self, but you're delivering to people what you want them to see, not
Yeah.
everything. So you can get a little pressure off. You don't have to let people see how frustrated Rajiv really is. So yeah.
Yeah. As an artist, I love this one-on-one, heart-to-heart conversation about artists and life, because the struggles of an artist is sometimes it's the community. It from a
Mm-hmm.
standpoint of understanding artists now on Facebook, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about getting
Mm-hmm.
their art out and not being heard. There's a lot of people that are not getting
Yeah.
heard, and we need conversations like
Yeah.
this about arts and where we can take the art forward and where we can distribute the art and understand the art from the artist's perspective, from an audience perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard to it's hard to put a pin on what artists really do, because there's a lot of things that are
Mm-hmm.
happening in the artist world.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about
Yeah.
me, and then when they present their artwork, they don't have a storytelling, they don't have this form of narrative,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they just automatically create art and say, hey, this is my art, check it out. That is one thing that is
Mm.
lacking. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. I think like when you're talking about the community, I think it's also part of what type of, I wouldn't say art direction there is, but it's more of like what would they accept to be part of, if you get what I mean.
yeah,
Because there, I think I forgot his name, but uh I should look it, I should look it up. But he is a graphic designer.
yeah,
And then the thing though is he mentions that there's two ways you can go as an artist. And it's really based on your decision of location. Because like when we're talking about community, it's much more easier to find it online and like really be part of like I'm finishing my studies so I can always be with communication with other artists.
yeah,
But I think other artists, they're like their sense of location is like, rather than say, well, here's the basis of what the graphic designer said. It's either based from your location of you want to be in demand for your art, like specific for your art of trade, like you want to be known as a painter or you're an animator or you want to be a graphic designer and stuff. So you have to go to countries and areas where that's really present, available, and accessible to you. Because
yeah,
like I know animation and being creative, especially if you're Asian and like you're here in like many third world countries or developing countries, that's kind of like you have to be a doctor and nurses and stuff like engineer. But
yeah,
so when you're trying to find jobs about being in an art community, it's kind of like it's never a regular thing. So they kind of have to always freelance. They have to just be available for what is available now. And it's like you would you I personally would want to live that life someday, which is like I would just be in an island and be like, if and there's an available work, okay, I'll do that just to keep earning money, but live in that paradise. But a lot of times people are just going to areas where the community is present and the work is demanded. So like a lot of people would go to Canada, LA,
New
or they
York.
would go to the capital of animation, like wherever the art study or the art presentation is so easy, then yeah, they would usually go there. So I think that's where a lot of people won't start to get frustrated if they're like, I don't have anywhere to support me. But it means to say you need to sidetrack your art to freelancing, maybe where you just need to keep making money. So that's realistic.
I 100% agree to what you said, because it is a life. It is the life that you choose, that your life that you want to live, that is worth the
Yeah.
sacrifices 100 times over. That is the sacrifices that you really, that's, if you truly desire it, it's all up to you to make it happen. So yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
The graphic designer is David Carson. So I remembered him. So David Carson is like one of the father of graphic design. So yeah, like art museums usually exhibit like so many artists' works and you get to paint. But yeah, it depends on what areas supporting artists. Not every area is being supported by artists, or there's kind of like a political agenda if you're
yeah,
gonna make art. So yeah.
yeah. That places like North Korea, China, and Russia, I presume their sense of art styles are different. Even till today, I think they have their
Yeah, but
own stuff.
yeah. Yeah, but I think kind of there's kind of an everyday streak where you could go political, if you know what I mean. Like here in the Philippines and probably also in just every country,
Yeah,
if the government is going to support your art, there's credentials, meaning to say, is it good for this type of religion to see your work? What if it's too provocative? So they
yeah,
would cut it out. Or they want to give you instructions before they give you support, because a lot of artists can get money. They can. Every real artist can make money. There's no there's no problem.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is like, would you be censored or not? So, a lot of times that's where a lot of artists get hold back because there's a few instructions and you're kind of like you're not being really told you're the artist, you're just being told what to do by another person. But I mean, if that makes money, just keep living, you know?
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
don't be too like uptight with your art because you can make more, definitely.
This conversation is leading to art education. This is really interesting. That should be the
Yeah, but
title.
like
Art education with scrubs. That should be the title.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely art education or just like living as an artist. You can yeah, you can make money and your life as an artist. I wouldn't like I remember having this interview with one person. He doesn't call himself an artist because that's other people to
Yeah.
call him that. That's not him. He's just making a painting. So he can continue to make art, but he doesn't call himself artist. Like once you give your work out to the public, it's
Opinion.
their job to like
Yeah.
now. I wouldn't say like judge you, but it's kind of like you give them you're already like no have you have no heart for your work already. You're like, I'm done with it. I'm good, but I'll keep making more now. I'm like, just give me time to chill. And then after I chill, I'm like, okay, I'm going back to art again.
Yeah. Life is tough as an artist, but yeah, that's
Hmm.
that's interesting. This is a very interesting perspective coming from
Yeah.
opening on opening up on a conversation about high school and
Hmm.
led into art education.
Yeah.
Is such an
Yeah, but
interesting dynamic. Yeah.
yeah, but I honestly I disagree that artists have a difficult life because kind of like I know a lot of artists who's an engineer and then they just went to art. Or for me personally, I think you wanted to like ask me also like if I had to turn back time from high school to now, would I change anything? I'm like, no. I do have regrets, but I wouldn't regret ever my life because I think like part of if you learn a lesson, then it means to say you also learn to regret.
Yeah.
You can't change anything if you really learned a lesson and then part of it is like yeah, I can't change what happened in my past, but I think right now I'm at peace, with my past. Like the person, like I think a lot of I wouldn't say artists, okay, but just everyone in general, they're going to go to a phase wherein like they're having so many regrets in life, but they can't change it anymore. And I'm kind of like, you can't change that person anymore, but your present person, do you like yourself? You get what I mean? Because a lot of art, like just anyone, not just artists, but anyone, when they're going through the phase of intimacy, and like we were having this one-on-one discussion as an artist, but when you're like, do you really like yourself to be known to somebody else, or you're just making people see a part of you but not everything about you? Because the real part of you has like a lot of hidden barriers, and I think as an artist you're also being creative to let people see you. Even those regrets, you make them into sad songs. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you had ex-boyfriends, you make them into Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
Like,
I wanted to
like
sorry, I wanted to cut you off there. That's the one thing I hate about being a songwriter is I always end up writing love songs for my ex. that's
uh,
that's the
then
one thing.
I don't think those are yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I don't think those are regrets. I think you're just like at the current time that's what you're going through, and you're letting people see that. So that's part of you being intimate with your listeners as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I hate about being songwriter when someone calls me a songwriter like, oh man, I'm gonna write another love song. I hate this. That's why getting inspired by other musicians, that's one thing I get. But the problem though is once I start playing my instrument, That's where the
Mm-hmm.
interesting, funny stuff happens. So yeah,
Ah. Oh, okay. I think like part of it is like I don't think it's funny. I think I would like I personally would rather like to listen to your song than you trying to be like another musician, if you get what I
yeah,
mean.
that
Cause
in a degree, but the sense of
yeah,
influence, like listening to other musicians. I like to
yeah.
compose kind of pieces that have some sort of interesting meaning. I always I'm a funk guy. If you listen to my playlist, I'm a funk guy.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, I cannot really give the funk. I can only give the Taylor Swift stuff. So yeah,
I think like part of it is just your current trade right now. As like you don't have to be entitled, like because I think what I'm hearing is that this is what you want to be. Like this is who you ideally want people to see you as.
yeah,
Like I would like I maybe get this, but this is also sometimes what I think of. Like, I want people to see me like in an Oscar, and like I want to win a Grammy or stuff, and like
yeah,
for your work. And
yeah,
how I'm gonna get this Grammy is like if I do this, then be like, oh, if I make that song, like if I was another Ed Sheeran and take all his songs,
yeah,
definitely I'd win a Grammy. But then I realized realistically, this is who I am, you know, and I can't be an ideal person if I don't like where I am right now. So, and I realized, damn, I made mistakes. I want to write that up just so
yeah,
that I would like clear myself from those mistakes or like I wouldn't say I mean you have an ex be like write about your ex until you can't write about your ex anymore because you're still dealing with it. So people will
yeah.
be like,
I
I'm
could
shocked
relate.
to hear
Yeah,
that, like, still shocked to hear you're still thinking about your ex. Maybe has it been a year?
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, because in a girl's perspective, I'm like, I didn't know that. I thought like guys would be like, yeah, I'm just moved on. And then like,
yeah,
if that's your perspective, it's like, oh, so there are still guys like that who think of their exes after 12 years. Ah,
yeah.
nice to know.
Yeah. I would love to talk to you further and extend this conversation. Sadly, Zoom has
Yeah.
given me a timer. So I hope you come back to the
Yeah.
show and we complete our
Yeah.
conversation. So yeah. You were saying?
I mean, I can extend it after this if you want.
Yeah. For now I'm hitting the timer's agenda because I want to keep it sweet, short and sweet, and it's totally somewhat sweet this conversation. And
Okay.
uh, I wanna say thank you first of all for being part of the show. Uh, but before we
Oh,
leave,
that's nice.
before we
Hmm.
split and before we move on to the next priorities, I wanna ask if someone wants to
Hmm.
connect with you via social media, how will they find you on social media?
Okay, so Odd with Scods is in Facebook, Instagram, and we also have now in Wisdom app. So if ever you want to reach out to me, guys, you can go to our Facebook. I definitely listen to my listeners like messages, and they're like, "How's your current love life?" Like, I'm surprised that they're curious to know that.
Yeah,
So I think like yeah, you can reach me out in So Odd with Scuds Facebook. There's also Instagram account, and you can also message me there, or you can go to Wisdom and you can get a voice reply from me just about anything, and you can get more wisdom out from Scuds. So yeah. I hope you guys listen also to the show So Odd with Scuds. It's available in all podcasting apps, music apps you like. So definitely listen to it.
I definitely listen to you. I'd listen to you every day about topics about art.
Oh,
I definitely listen to you. That I'm a fan. As a fan, I'm honored. I'm deeply honored having you on my show. It's a huge honor.
um, Thank you so much. You know what, like the reason why I'm still even finishing my studies, like sometimes as an artist, you're like, why do I have to go to school if I'm
Yeah,
already having a work now?
yeah,
I finished my study because I want to be a teacher someday,
yeah,
like a university teacher stuff, but I want to be a hot teacher when I'm like in my 40s or even more. I'm like I will not want to have any regrets when I'm in my 20s. So I'm like if there are goals that will connect to your future goals,
yeah,
then do it now. So I'm glad that you're listening to me because, yeah, I want to be a teacher. And I think I am. I think right now I
yeah,
am.
yeah. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show. And hopefully,
Aw,
like I said earlier, I hope you come back. And if we have a new topic, a new title, we covered that up and we're going to talk about it. So I want to say thank you so much for being a part of my show.
yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. And if you or your listener wants to get something out from me or you want to invite me to the specific episode, go ahead. So thank you
Awesome.
so much, Rajiv, for your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that in mind, folks, I will see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.